Welcome, everybody, to a new edition of UFO Man Live. My name is UFO Man, or Tim, and to my side is my co-host, my friend, Tommy Highway. Tommy, introduce yourself.
Hello, folks. I'm Tommy Highway. I'm thrilled to be here with you this evening. We've got a wonderful show for you and all kinds of cool things we're going to talk about. We have a fantastic guest tonight, folks. Her name is Barbara Jean Lindsey. She's an author. She's a near-death experiencer, a psychic medium, and we met her at Contact in the Desert. We really hit it off with her. She's just a fantastic lady. Everybody, Barbara Jean. Barbara?
Hey, welcome. Thank you for having me, both you, Tim and Tommy. It's a pleasure to be here. I look forward to hanging out with you, discussing my favorite topic, UFOs, ETs, NDEs, and your beautiful listeners as well.
Thank you for coming.
All right, our first segment this evening, we're going to be covering something from the past. Tommy's going to take it away. Tommy?
Folks, we've had all kinds of really super close-up UFO sightings that were actually mass UFO sightings. That were sightings that were so fantastic that they were almost hard to believe, but yet they actually happened. What I'm talking about, folks, well, at least one of those particular sightings was the O'Hare Airport incident back in 2006. Okay? Now, basically what happened here, folks, is that they had baggage handlers, I believe they were actually calling in, and they were saying, hey, look above the field out there, and there was a metallic disc just sitting there in the sky. And Tim has got some overlays of that, but I'm going to go ahead and read you an article here. Okay, this is the city of Chicago isn't known as a hotbed of UFO activity, but O'Hare Airport is the home of one of the most publicized sightings of the last decade. A flying saucer-like object was spotted over the concourse C of the United Terminal in November of 2006 by pilots, airline management, and mechanics. The incident, reported by a Chicago Tribune columnist a few weeks later, noted the object was first seen by United ramp worker around 4:30 p.m. After that, a variety of witnesses said the object was dark gray and 6 to 24 feet in diameter. Some said it appeared as it was spinning a frisbee, while others said it wasn't rotating at all. All agreed that the object was silent and appeared just below the 1,900-foot cloud deck until shooting off into the clouds and leaving a circular hole shaped in the clouds. So when this thing took off, and again, this is happening in front of all kinds of people, the control towers looking at it at this point, pilots, baggage handlers, everybody that's probably got a radio on their hip is hearing this, okay, out there in the airport. And when this thing took off, it took off and shot straight up at such a dramatic rate of speed that it actually knocked a hole in the clouds that stayed there for a while. And I believe we have a photo of that. If we don't, there, Tim.
I don't have the photo of the hole in the clouds, and the reason is because all the images out there now are just copies of what they thought the hole in the cloud looked like. Now, one thing I have to say about that hole in the cloud, the speed necessary to punch a cookie cutter clean hole in the clouds was estimated at 2,000 miles per hour. So for it to shoot straight up, it had to have been going 2,000 miles an hour.
Absolutely. And I mean, if a jet takes off, goes through a cloud, it does not make a hole in the cloud. Okay. This thing just went boom and actually displaced the air so violently and so fast that it actually left that hole. Now it goes on here to quote some folks, and it says, but I know what I saw and what a lot of other people saw stood out very clearly. And it definitely was not an Earth aircraft, one mechanic told reporter John Hilkenvich, I think. A manager on Concourse B ran outside his office after hearing the report about the sighting on the internal airline radio frequency. So again, I guarantee you that anybody that at the airport that's got a radio on their hip, which is everybody that's on foot out there, at least everybody heard this. So you had, all the mechanics, baggage handlers, everything to do with let's say the guts of the airport, they're all getting this on their radio. So a lot of other people would have come out and saw this. Goes on to say, I knew no one would make a false call like that, but if somebody was bouncing a weather balloon or something else over O'Hare, we had to stop it because it was in very close proximity to our flight operations. Okay, so they were concerned that this thing was so close to the airport that they were concerned that it was a navigational hazard. Somebody could crash into this thing. I mean, you know how they are about drones around airports and all that stuff. I mean, it's strictly restricted airspace for anything other than air traffic, bona fide air traffic. Okay. The story was eventually picked up by many major media outlets and caused people to reconsider the idea of UFOs, though the Federal Aviation Administration and the airline refused to investigate the incident. Yep. There we go again. Here we go. As soon as it gets to the government level, it hits the wall. And this has been the problem with UFOs, UFO sightings, reports, and all of that over the years. It's always been the same story. It gets that far, and then boom. There's no such thing as UFOs. Are you crazy? Are you feeling okay? I mean, it goes to that.
You remember when we interviewed Ted Rowe from NARCAP on our channel? He came right out and said the FAA doesn't have a reporting system for UFOs. They refuse to spend the money on the paperwork. So they just don't want to know.
It's like covering up your eyes and sticking your fingers in your ears and going, blah, 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 blah. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. And that's like a child would do. And I'm telling you, that is exactly the way the government has handled this. Other than the fact that a child won't usually ruin your reputation personally, threaten your family, make you disappear like the government. But anyway, let's go ahead and go a little bit further here. The FAA dismissed the incident as a weather phenomenon, and Dr. Mark Hammergren, an astronomer at Alder Planetarium, agreed, saying the weather conditions at O'Hare that day were right for a hole punch cloud. Okay, and here it goes. It quotes, "It's something that occurs when a propeller or jet airplane passes through when you have uniform cloud cover and the temperature is right near the freezing point," Hammergren explained. "They make liquid water droplets freeze, and a hazy disk of ice crystals descends from a hole, and it looks like a perfect hole punched in the cloud. And then what will happen is the Lucky Charms leprechaun will come out and start dancing around, things like that." I think that's where they're going with this. I mean, we're supposed to believe that. People saw this disc, okay? I mean, you do have the photo of the disc.
Yeah, I'll put it up again.
Yeah, let's throw it up again.
This is the photo of the actual disc.
Right. And I mean, that's what, wasn't there a second photo?
Yeah, there's a second photo right here. It's not as clear, but it is there.
Right, out of a security camera. So, I mean, does that look like ice crystals? Raise your hand. Anybody? I mean, the Easter Bunny, anything like that? No, it looks to me like a UFO. And again, these people work at an airport. Okay, they see stuff come and go out of the sky all day, every single shift. So they know when they see something in the sky that doesn't belong there. These people are not fools. Right, exactly. It's just another one of those things that it's insulting our intelligence, to think that these people are not experts. And I'm talking about even down to the baggage handlers. Again, think those guys aren't looking up in the sky, seeing all that stuff go on, coming and going? Of course they are.
Yeah, it's just another part of the suppression program that's been going on for decades.
Yep, absolutely. And the fact that the FAA hasn't even so much as had a friggin' form to fill out to be able to report these types of incidents. I mean, I guess you got to pretty much start there. Let's go ahead and go a little further. But a Center for UFO Studies scientific director, Mark Rottinger, the possible alien craft that appeared in the center's own proverbial backyard remains a mystery worth explaining. It's an unknown object over O'Hare, and it's been seen by official personnel, and United or FAA does not take it seriously. Of course not. They have zero interest because UFOs can't exist. But how can you not worry about something hovering over an airport after 9/11? Great question. It doesn't make sense, Rottinger said. Journalist Leslie Keene also wrote about it in her book, UFOs, Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials Go on the Record, and talked about it in the Colbert Report with Stephen Colbert in 2010, saying the government should investigate the O'Hare incident. And it goes on to quote, "This thing was hovering over Chicago O'Hare Airport at rush hour," Keene said. "Lots of people saw it. The U.S. government never said a word." So this is the reason we wanted to talk about this one, folks, is this one has just way too much evidence to be a false report. Way too many people saw it. Again, we've talked about these people being experts because, they work at an airport. I mean, they know a bird from a kite from a balloon, I promise. So all these people that came together and saw that and have come forward, and the government completely shut it down. Don't even want to talk about it. It didn't happen because leprechauns don't exist. Okay. And that's just so sad. And it's like Tim and I have always said, well, we've been saying the last few weeks, it's a shame that it's been like this because there's so many stories out there that we never got to hear, so much evidence that we never got to see because of people's fear of ridicule and God knows what else over the subject of ufology. It's sad. It's a crime is what it is.
Right.
Barbara?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to add, Barbara, would you like to
add to that? Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up with it. My first experience that I can remember with seeing a UFO overhead with a group of people was in the late 1990s in Hawaii. So if you want to talk about experiences, the best teacher in this, you can't talk it away. You want to sometimes. It might not be the big O'Hare report, which I love that as proof of what went down. But I had an experience in Hawaii on the Big Island where I went down to the end of the South Point. It's the most southern tip of the United States. And I was with a girlfriend. We had our little Mustang convertible. We were out having a good time. It was late at night. We drove out to the cliff and there were fishermen there, were 3 other fishermen. And they said, hey, you guys can't leave because we're catching fish now. We haven't caught anything all day, so you have to stay. So we stayed with them and we're talking. And all of a sudden, out of the cliff to the right comes like you shake up a whipped cream bottle and you push the canister and these clouds appeared that looked just like that. Perfect whipped cream clouds out of the blue, out of nowhere. Wasn't there, and then it's there, right? Under the edge of that, it's like a silver dollar, and then a quarter size, and then it got smaller and smaller and smaller in circular size windows from the right to the left that was in a perfect line there. And as it started to come towards us, it came at great speed, then came over us. And then I don't remember what happened after that, except for when that next second, I'm looking at my friend, she's looking at me. No one says anything. The 3 fishermen don't say anything. We don't say anything. And then all of a sudden, up on the back cliff, this old fisherman comes down with his fishing rod and his pail, and he's like going as fast as he can. He goes, did you see it? Did you see it? And we said, yeah, we saw the spaceship. We saw it. And he goes, phew, so did I. Because, sometimes when you have an experience like that, it helps to have it with other people. And sometimes you're alone, and it just does help to have it with other people. And so the next year, I went back again to that same place to see if something would happen again. And I went back for 3 years in a row, and I never had an experience there again. But it was a real experience. And I'm a mom. I'm a practical person. I have a real job. I'm doing everything that everybody does. And I had that experience when I was not looking for it at all. So that's what happens when you have an experience. It does change you. And the next day there was in the paper, an article, I have it somewhere, in the Hawaii paper, that there were many calls in that night for people saying that they saw a ship in the air, a spaceship. It actually says that in the paper on the Hawaii, whatever newspaper that was. So sometimes the locals don't know they're not supposed to print it, and they do, So we had that as
when you say it was a spaceship, what do you mean? For what type of shape did you see?
It was a definite disc shape.
Did you see lights?
I did, and it was a blue light, kind of a blue light. But what was weird about it is that it had perfect symmetry to it, like a beautiful, perfect symmetry. So it had the large silver dollar circle. Next to it was smaller, but in perfect precision too. In the speed that it came, it wasn't there, and then it's there. and we could feel it come over. I don't remember what, I didn't look up that I know of, but I don't have a memory of that. But I do have the complete memory of it being there, starting to come towards us, and then gone. And we did have missing time that night too, because my boyfriend at the time was just getting to call the sheriff because we were out like 2.5 hours later than I was never out that late. So he was beginning to worry. Had a big sunburn on my face the next morning, but and of course, that's not unusual in Hawaii to have a sunburn, but I had not been out either at the time. I haven't been regressed about that at all, but I feel like that's, so if you're looking for something, that's that South Point in Hawaii and the Big Island. So, and that's just an experience. It's, and I work with people who have experiences, that because of my experiences. So there's nothing like an experience to open up all of that to what you're talking about.
Absolutely. Yep. It'll do it every time. It's such a revelation. We've talked about this before. There's really no way to verbalize when you have an experience at the range of emotions that you go through. And there's just really no way to convey that verbally. But when you have that experience, when let's just say the truth is revealed to you, and the fact that we are absolutely not alone in the universe, it's a game changer, and it changes every single aspect of your life and it forever. That's it. I mean, it's a completely different ballgame after that. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah. And right. When we were coming back, my girlfriend and I, we still have the convertible down, and we're going, it's a 15-mile road, a single road to get there, and there's lots of windmills. And as we're coming back, we see the windmill with this fog. There was a layer of fog. I forgot about that. There's all this layer of fog. And when we saw the fog and we saw the windmill, we knew it was a windmill, but we both screamed. We just screamed. And that's not like us, So there was something that happened. I'm not quite sure, but something that made us on guard for sure, out of the unusual.
Maybe that's something you should look into regression on, really seriously.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to go hang out with my good friend Barbara Lamb in San Diego. So maybe we should. I've had one regression with her before. So yeah, that would be good.
I've watched a couple interviews with her lately where she was regressing a gentleman in regards to a UFO abduction. So she's very skilled. So let us know on the channel what information you find out. If you would like to share it with us, we're more than happy to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, I will. That's a good idea. Yeah, I'll just pop in and tell you what happened and boom out again.
Yeah, there you go. I'd like to know a little bit more about your Sedona, Arizona experience.
Let's see. I don't remember the year exactly, but it was about the early 2000s again. I was with a friend of mine at the Enchantment Resort. And the Enchantment Resort is built over a First Nations burial ground, part of it is. And my friend found out about it and she felt really bad about it. And so at about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, she said, I want to go out and do some meditation work there where we won't be bothered, to kind of, talk with the spirits there, talk with the land and say, hey, we're really sorry we screwed up. Can you forgive us? Right? She's that kind of a person. She had a big heart. So we went out and parked our car where you're not supposed to park it. But I figured it was okay because no one was there. And we walked over and it was built, they built their tennis courts over the burial ground. So we walked to the edge of the tennis court. And we sat there for about an hour and a half and meditated, in our own space, and got into a meditative space, into an alternative space. And at that time then, in our mind, okay, so a circle of native came around in a circle, and a lot of them didn't have teeth, and they were dancing a slow dance, and they said, thank you to us for bringing our love and our support to the earth. And so no one had come for a very long time to do any kind of celebration or have a conversation with them, and they really appreciated it. And they said most time, and I go, well, are we doing okay? And they said, well, most people pee their pants when they see us, and you didn't, so you did a really good job. But that's on the inner planes, okay? And so I get where some of your listeners are going, okay, yeah. But then the next step, way off to the right are the huge mountains, and these lights started coming, synchronicity, right? And I thought, oh, well, maybe those are the people who, the state troopers or something, where they have that one light, you know, on their forehead, like a lamp, so that they don't break a leg or something while they're going down the mountain. I go, maybe that's what that is. And then I go, they start coming a little bit closer. There's a group of them, and I said, oh, well, maybe, no, that's not what that is. Maybe it's deer, you know, and I'm trying to shape it into my reality of something that I know. And so then it starts to come closer, and as it comes closer, they're about 3 feet tall. There's a group of them. You can see through them. They're white sheer, and you can kind of see through them. I didn't really see their faces so well. As they started to come towards us, it's almost like they went through us. And when they did, the next thing I remember was standing in front of the car with the door open. Okay. So my friend and I said, did you know what happened? And she goes, yeah, do you know what happened? But we didn't talk again. We didn't say anything to each other, which unusual. We went to our room. We didn't say anything that night. She went to her room. I went to my room. And then the next day we go, what happened? And we tried to figure it out. So we went back there. We walked the land. We took a look. There was no difference. About 3 years later, I was in a bookstore in Marin. And as I'm looking at the bookshelves, this red book got my eye. So I picked it up, and it's a book on Sedona vortexes, right? So I open it up, and there is someone telling their exact story, like my experience. And those beings are called the Kakakas, Kakas, and they're the beings that guard the mountain. And they describe exactly what happened to them. They came down off the mountain, and they said hello to the people, to certain people that they feel that they can communicate with. And they're the guardians of the mountains, or the caretakers of the mountains. They're not actually extraterrestrial as much as they are terrestrial. They live inside the mountain. They've been there for a very, 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 very long time. But it was so, because, you know, you always check, okay? You know, am I okay? Am I imagining this? I do have a very good imagination. I'm a good artist and that sort of thing. But this was bigger than that. And so you try to grok it, you try to work it in. And so I was really thankful that someone had written a book about their experience, because we had the same experience. So it validated that experience. That's one of them.
That's interesting. I can't say that I've actually had any direct contact with any beings or life forms. I do know that I've been interacted with. Like you, I've had missing time, and I've had trace evidence. But other than that, I don't share the same aspect that you have had. Can you tell us about the tall whites?
Yeah, I met the tall whites when I was in 6th grade for the first time. Sitting there minding my own business again, but being really agitated because I had to go up on the stage and talk, and I didn't want to do that because I was forced to do it. I didn't want to do it. So I was kind of there against my will a little bit. And I was afraid if I screwed up, then the whole auditorium would laugh at me. That's the worst thing that could happen to a 12-year-old, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm having this kind of conversation with myself, you know, like, you can do this, it'll be okay. And when I look off to the right in my peripheral vision is a group of beings, 3 beings that show up. They're very tall, extremely tall at that point, and I'm sitting. So they're, you know, like 8 feet tall, I would say. And they had big square shoulders, long white gowns with a big white, beautiful hood, all 3 of them. And they had their hands like, you know, tucked inside. So I didn't see their hands. I never saw their faces. And they had a conversation with me. They said, at one time, would you like to talk with people and give them hope and inspiration? And I said, sure, I would do that. No problem. And they said, well, you won't get paid for it. And I said, well, that wouldn't work for me. My family's very poor and I'd want to get paid for it. And they go, well, that wasn't their deal, right? So I agreed. I said, yeah, I'll do that to help humanity. I'll give them hope and inspiration. And I didn't like the not getting paid for it. And so we agreed. I made an agreement with them. I made a contract with them at that point, right? So over the years, I have never been paid for anything that I've ever talked about. And I do my show on Fridays, the Cosmic Oracle Show, for, I always forget, 6 or 7 years now, every Friday. I've never gotten paid for that. It's an all-volunteer station, just like you guys. It's something that you do from your heart, and it's real, and it's from your truth, and you want the truth out there. You want the truth for humanity. It's time. We're ready for it. We've been ready for it. And so for whatever reason, I'm in it. I've been in it for 30 years now. And so since my NDE, so that really the near-death experience was the second time I met them. So do you want me to talk about that or keep going? Or
we have a question from Debbie Sims in the chat room. She wants to know if when you spoke to the tall whites, was it through telepathy or by voice?
Definite telepathy. I never saw their faces, but I definitely heard a voice. It wasn't like my voice saying it to me. It was definitely their voice. It was a male voice, and it was a male, but in that maleness was also like a nondescript male at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe like a transgender would be the word, but androgynous would probably be better, the best word for it. But it was definitely a male voice. And was that something, because that's something that I could hear at that time? Maybe, who knows, right? But at that time, it was a male, kind of authoritative figure. But I could tell also that they were very gentle with me, very kind, and a heart connection with them as well. So I was not frightened by them at all. In fact, they helped me, because when I got up on stage, I did great. So I figure if you can go through that, you can go talk on stage with no problem, right? So
right. Okay. Let's go into a little bit discussion about your near-death experience and how that gave you a revelation of being a psychic medium.
Okay. Yeah. Before that, I was interested in the realm. I was a single mom with 3 kids. I owned an art gallery, a fine art gallery. I was an interior designer, very successful at that time. But I felt like I had all this stuff and it wasn't enough. I just all the stuff didn't mean that much to me, because I had acquired, everything, and I was supposed to be happy, and I wasn't happy. So I said, there has to be more to this than what I've been told. So I went to read everything I could read, became a seeker of truth. And in that, I met a psychic who gave me a free reading, and that opened me up to studying about psychic phenomena and that whole world. And at that time, I won't go into it so much, but I had a near-death experience. I had both my lungs collapse. And when they both collapsed at a women's group, I full-body channeled a being from Egypt who said to the women in a huge, gigantic male voice coming through my voice, was that he was there to kill me because I had information that couldn't be given at that time. And so then he collapsed both my lungs, and they took me into the hospital and said I wouldn't make it. And if I did come back, I wouldn't be able to talk or walk, or they weren't sure how bad it was, but I probably wouldn't make it through the night. And as my body was in the hospital unit being taken care of as best they could, my family was called and everyone was crying and the whole thing. I wasn't aware of any of that because I came out of the body. And what I remembered next was being in this beautiful water of undulating liquid love, a dark water, a beautiful, warm, dark water of love. So much love. I had never felt that much love before in my whole life. And I'm a mom. Moms know how to love. Dads do too. But, I really knew how to love. And so in this liquid love light, I just kind of became one with everything. My consciousness totally expanded. And there was more love than we as a human only have a speck of where we came from that much love. I'm in that love, this beautiful, amazing love. And I look down, I don't have a body, but yet I still existed. How is that possible? At that time was 1989. We didn't have the physics and things that we have now. But at that time, in my mind, I'm going, holy crap, and I just went whoosh, and lost it, right? And so when I looked down, there was no body, but I still existed. In that moment, I went into a spaceship. And when I was on the spaceship, is where I met the being that I call him the guardian, is the first being that came to me. He was a tall white with a big hood, the same face, no face. And he telepathed to me that his name was the guardian. And he was there to help me because I was going to talk to a council of beings, which he introduced me to. And I'm giving you the short version. I was in a coma for 3 days, 2.5 days while this happened. So what they did is they took me and taught me by and through experience. And so the first experience was talking to the council. I really loved the council, and I'm laughing because they all had the same white robes on, and I thought maybe they got them on discount somewhere. I'm not sure. But I found that to be really funny, but I wasn't afraid. I wasn't scared. I wasn't anything. But they were behind a large plexiglass, like a glass plate. And there were fat ones and tall ones and skinny ones, and they had all different personalities. And they would jump up and down, and then they would come to an agreement together, and then their one person would tell my guardian, and then my guardian would communicate to me. And that's how we communicated. So they decided to teach me through experience. The next thing was a big round window that opened up, and in that window was a hologram of our Earth, our Mother Earth. And I saw her as she started to come towards me. I could feel her heartbeat. So then my heartbeat and the Mother Earth's heartbeat became one. And it's about the same synchronicity of a beautiful First Nation drum. And I started to cry because I knew that our Earth was alive, but I didn't know that her and I had a connection. And so I went into tears of joy with that I thought I had a connection with her, but I had no idea that she was feminine, that she was alive, and we needed to take care of her, and that we were killing her basically, and we needed to respect her and honor her because she's one of the most beautiful jewels in our universe. And we need it. What we do here not affects us, but it affects everyone. And if we're going to join the galactic community, we have to grow up and play nice with everybody, because that really is our future. And so then from there, I don't know how much you want me to tell you. I can
keep on going. We're fine.
So the next thing after that, we fly up out of the spacecraft, and my guardians to my left, and we look over these valleys of miles and miles of beautiful emerald green forest, just gorgeous, gorgeous forest, thousands and thousands of acres. And we just keep flying, and I kind of become one with the forest. It becomes one with me, alive with it. Later, I thought it was the green of the heart chakra and love, but later it's because we need to protect our forest and our land, and that it's alive, and it's and since then I've learned too that, like, on this planet we have black and we have white, and we want to fight, this whole fight thing, one or the other. There's no in between. And I think what's coming and what's been held on our planet is the green, and it's never left. It's always been here, this green part, which is very organic and beautiful and pure, and it's there if we tune into it. And I've been able to since then, and help people with that. I know the First Nations never lost that. So after this experience, I did meet with a Lakota Sioux chief and worked with him for many, many years and learned Lakota traditions and learned how to have a relationship with the earth here as a human. And so after that, then I go to, I find my feet, my guardian would look at me and I would know the look telepathically that we're going to have the next experience. So then I walked up. This is when people say, hey, can I have some of what you're having? But it wasn't like that. Or, you know, it was not, it's different than a dream. It's different than thinking. I was 100% fully present, immersed in this experience. And that's what an NDE is. That's what a near-death experience. You're fully present there. Every codon's on and you're taking it all in. So as I'm going the next step, I go up these, I know they're alabaster because I know alabaster. I'm barefoot, but I never see my body ever, but I can feel my body, but I never see it. So I'm going up the stairs, and to my right, it's a floating, beautiful Egyptian round temple. And afterwards, I traveled the world. I went to Egypt. I went to all sorts of spots. But at that time, I had never really been out of the United States at all. So I'm at this Egyptian, beautiful Egyptian temple. The same beings in the same white robes. I don't know why. They're in a circular movement, and they break, and I hold their hands, and they look kind of like a Leonardo da Vinci kind of hands, but I never kind of not really see their hands, but I can feel their hands, okay? And as I'm holding their hands, they're doing kind of a guttural sound, a real low, like the Tibetan monks, kind of that sound, like that. So they asked me to join them, so I do my best to do that. In the middle of the group is a column, and in the column is our Mother Earth, a hologram with these white vapors coming down. And again, they tell me that I'm welcome to a group of beings called the Watchers, and their job is to watch the planet and protect her. And they've always done it. They'll always do it. And that I'm actually a part of them. I learned more about that later. At that time, I had not a clue. And so I'm staying with them for a while. And then it's time for me to go. My guardian comes. So then the next step that I go to is like a big, huge party in a huge Victorian house, but the ceilings are like 100 feet tall with an atrium that opens up. There's like 1,000 of people there, all sorts of different beings. The one that sticks out the most to me is a pink-headed elephant in a tuxedo. Don't ask me why, but I wanted to remember him. And then a being comes up. My guardian's with me the whole time. Again, I don't see myself. And I kind of in like an ambassador line where the people come up in a line and they introduce themselves, and they have these little badges, kind of like Star Trek badge. They have a badge that's kind of a communicator, and they say welcome for me to come there. And I had one that's also, I just got a kick out of. He kind of looked like a teddy bear, and he had a monocle, and he was kind of like a professor, and he was there he was so excited to actually see a human, and he actually talked. We actually talked instead of telepath. It's like he was studying, but he had never had that experience. So he wanted to really have that experience. So he actually was able to talk with me. And so, and then I just met one after another. And then it was time to go. There was jazz music. Someone asked me before. I could hear kind of a jazz music, but I never got to see them playing the instruments. And so then from that, it was time to go. So I went up, kind of spiraled up, and I was with a group of like goddesses in lapis blue and beautiful orange and turquoises, and they had beautiful necklaces and beautiful hair, and like sirens. They were like angels and goddesses, and I'm with them, and they're playing music, and their job with me, they telepath to me, is for me to find my voice, my tone. And so they work with me until I find my tone, and their tone is really operatic, oh, you're like way up there, just so beautiful. And it was so beautiful, I would cry with joy. And so my tone was very low. But they said it was beautiful and not to disregard that. And so I've worked with women for 15 years. Once a year, I had goddess retreats, and we would work on them finding their own unique tone, because then you can heal yourself with that tone. And so then I went up back. It was time to go, and they said, it's time to go. And I said, I don't want to go. And they said, well, you have 3 kids. And I go, oh my God, I have 3 kids. That's right. So that's what brought me back. As I'm going back up with the guardian, I see my friend in the hospital room, and she's in meditation. I'm going, what is she doing in the hospital? And then I see a bed, and I look down, I go, oh, that's me in that bed in the hospital. Oh my God. I go, well, you look a little puffy, but not too bad. And I start to go back into the body. And when I come, my guardian says, no, wait, come back up here. And he says, we have a mission for you if you would like to take it. And I said, sure, what is it? Without thinking. And he said, we would like for you to be an ambassador. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll be an ambassador, no problem. I go, but before that, I go, look, if I'm going back into that body, I'm going to need some real help, because it's really dense down there, and I really like being here. Can't you give me like a get out of jail free card or something like that to help me while we're down there? And he said, well, no, we can't do that. And he thought it was really funny. But he said, you do have the gift of white light. And so he did give me the gift of white light, which a lot of healers use, right? And so I didn't know that at the time either. And so then as I start to go back, and I said I would be an ambassador, I look back and he was gone. And I haven't seen him since. That was 1989. And so I go back to acclimate as a being, a spirit in the body. And I go back into the density, the layers of the body. And so I fill my whole body up, every inch, every little module with white light. And then I sit up, I'm in the hospital room. And my first words were, I'm starving, I want some nachos. And so no one thought that was funny. They just, all the lights went on, everyone went everywhere. And it was kind of a miracle. I was in the hospital for 10 days and fully back. But the difference was that my psychic abilities were turned on 100%. And I had to learn how to deal with that. So.
Okay, we have to address this one. Wonders GTA Gaming said, I must ask, sorry if this gets me blocked, but I know of multiple people, including myself, who have had similar experiences with hallucinogenics, not always aliens to blame. What do you think about that, Barbara?
I haven't been one to take hallucinogenics, so I don't know. And I guess that is a way that you could probably have a multidimensional experience for sure. All I can say is this was my experience, and, my truth. And I've heard of people doing that. I'm not sure. I don't really have an answer for that.
Right.
Very interesting story. Yeah, very enlightening. Absolutely. Tim, you want to go? Where do we want to go from here?
Okay, where we want to go from here is ask people in the chat room if they have a serious question for Barbara Jean Lindsey. She's more than willing to try and answer it for you with her psychic abilities. So you each get one question. So if you got a question, type it in the chat room and we'll put it up on screen, and I'll have Barbara Jean Lindsey try to answer your question.
I think Tracy had one, if I'm not mistaken. I saw up there. Where did it go?
Yeah, I couldn't find it. Tracy. Yeah. Oh, I know what she said.
Well, let's let her go ahead and ask it again.
Okay, Tracy, ask your question again. Okay, but in the meantime, tell us a little bit how you got involved with the Contact in the Desert, Barbara.
Okay, yeah, sure. I was in meditation. I'm a real meditator. It's something that I found that works for me. Everyone finds their own way, if that's running or swimming or reading or whatever it is. But for me, meditation, I try and meditate an hour every day, usually, and that keeps me going. And so one day I was in meditation and I got this real strong information that at the contact in the desert, that they had all these people there and scientists and authorities that could talk about what they saw with a relationship with extraterrestrials and UFOs and humanity. But there was no one telling their experience. And I knew what happens when I would tell my story. The first time I told my story, I threw up because I was so nervous about it. So about after telling it 100 times, you get better at it. But after telling it 1,000 times, you get really good at it, because what happens is once you tell your story, you acclimate your body to that story and it makes it real to you. And you really can't give it away until you make it real to yourself and you're neutral to it, right? So I'm sitting in meditation and I get this download that says, at Contact in the Desert, let's find a place, a sacred place where people can come and tell their experiences. And I think it's really important. So I called my friend Robert Perala, who I happen to know, and how I met him was at Avalon Visions in Santa Cruz, California. They had once a month, they had an ET UFO meetup group. I swear to God. And so I went there and I met Robert and I told my story. And then he said, well, hey, would you tell that at the San Francisco Evolving Times? And then, this whole thing there. But so I call him and I said, I have this idea for Contact in the Desert. What do you think? And he goes, I think that's a great idea. Here's Victoria's number. Give her a call. So I call Victoria, and Victoria happens to pick up the phone, which she doesn't. And I give her my idea. And she goes, that's a really good idea. I don't know if it'll work, but let's give it a try. And because she felt the sincerity, I think, in it as well. So she took a risk. And so the first year we did it, we had about 5 people show up. It was outside. I thought it was important to be out in the open, not back in some dark room somewhere at 7 in the morning or 9 at night or something, and I didn't want it photographed or anything. I wanted people to have a place to come and tell their story. So it started that first year about 5. And each year, I don't know how many years I've been doing it, 6 or 7, I don't remember. But last year we had like 300 people show up and tell their stories. And we had to have 5 cafes. So it went from, it's really like exploding. And so it makes me really happy. I think the work that a lot of people have been doing to have people have a place for them to tell their stories it's kind of, in a way, it's a disclosure, a grassroots movement of disclosure. It's the experiencer movement. And we have that experiencer movement. We've had it for a while. And that's people taking courage and risk to tell their story. And I always tell people, when you're telling your story the first time, you'll kind of get guidance to who to tell the story to, because invariably when you tell your story to someone, and you're thinking, oh God, do I really do this? And you take that risk and you tell your story, they always have a story to tell you back. And what happens, there's this beautiful synchronistic healing that happens. So it just kind of happened little by little by little. So it's kind of like all the stars in the background of people's stories. That's how I see the stars at night. These are people telling their experiences. We have that many. Okay, just about everybody has a story. So,
well, we have a question from Tracy Kane. Let me bring it back up here. And Tracy is asking, oh goodness, where did it go?
I got it on the screen.
Okay, great. Who was the person I spoke to on the other side when I had my near-death experience?
Okay. This one it feels almost like a star family, someone from a star family. I'm getting a lot of I'm there and I'm not there at the same time. So it's like they came in enough to tell you that you're right where you're supposed to be, and that you don't have to question yourself because you know yourself. That's just the information that I'm getting, that they were kind of a guardian, that it's not your time, and that the work that you have to do on this earth in this lifetime is very important for you.
Interesting. Okay, we have any other questions? Let's see. Well, E. Hart is asking a question. How does she see things? For example, do words just appear?
Usually I get it. It comes really fast because I've done thousands and thousands of readings now, right? So I can turn it on and off. When I first, after the near-death experience, I couldn't turn it off. So I would just see people and see everything about them. And I would just cry, or they would cry, or it was like it was way out of control. And so now I can turn it on and off easily. And so it just comes with a knowingness, probably more than anything. It comes with, if I read someone, it just comes and I just read it. It just comes from one side, kind of comes through to the other side, and I just read it. Not in words, though. It's just, it just comes.
Like thoughts.
It's different than thoughts because there's a difference between seeing and knowing. Okay, seeing, you're in a higher vibration. When I just did the reading, I came up. I'm reading it from up here. I'm reading from these higher chakras, from that connection. I'm not reading from a lower connection, the body connection, right? So I'm reading from a higher connection, from the 6th chakra up, and then a knowingness, a connection. We all have that connection to our lineage, to our divine lineage. And all we have to do is hook into that, and you'll get that information. Each of us gets it very uniquely, just like our own personality and our own bodies and our own thumbprints are unique. We can learn how to work with our own psychic abilities that are very unique to us and our lineage. And so for me, it just comes very fast, and it's a knowingness. And when I first started doing readings, I would try and make sure that people got their value. So I didn't think I did a good job unless I had them cry. And so, because I thought, that would make it real to them. But now, after doing all these readings, I don't do that anymore. It's refined enough. I do believe I have a real mastery of it, so that I can really look at the person and see, kind of, it goes through my filter, but what they can handle and what they can't at that point.
Hey, Barbara,
I'm just a messenger. So.
Okay, we have a question from Julia White. Hi, Barbara. I was told that an alien-looking entity is with me, and the name given was Boberick. She wasn't sure if that was the exact name. Is that true?
I don't see that as that name, but that's up to her to have a conversation with that being. We forget with beings and other entities that we think that we just get the information, we have no response. But we're not a victim in that. We get to talk with them, we get to communicate with them. So what I would suggest is, if she gets in a meditative state, that she brings that being in and she says, hey, do I have this name right? Can we talk? And what does that name mean? And how is that important to me? So I would suggest that she have a real conversation with that being. So as a psychic, my job isn't to tell you what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. My job is to open those doors for you to explore it for yourself and give you maybe some ideas of exploration that you may not have thought of.
She said, okay.
Oh, that's good. It's shorter. I can say that.
Nancy,
is that the name she said? Is okay, or?
No, Julia White was the one that asked that question.
Oh, it's a great question.
She's just saying, okay to you.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. But she can get it really quickly. She doesn't have to work for it. It can be like that.
Okay.
Okay. And, okay. I will say that sometimes you can't say the name in human words, right? It can come through as a sound, a tone. It can come through, beings can come through as a smell. Also, they can come through in all sorts of different ways.
Wonders GTA Gaming says, I have experienced many psychics. Also, general rule of thumb is endless talking is generally not a good sign. One question on a slow basis. If it is wrong, then numerous avenues to blame. I think we have a skeptic here, Barbara.
Good. I like skeptics. He has a beautiful opinion. I love it. You can have that. That's okay with me. And my work's not for everybody. It's okay. You know, have that, but explore it. At least he's here. That means he has an open mind, and I applaud that.
Right. Julia White says, no, she was agreeing with you when she said, okay.
Okay, cool.
Let's see here.
I misunderstood that. I thought she said that was the name of her being was okay.
Okay, Lockbeard has a question for you. Where should I apply to get the right job for me? It needs to be a place that will actually hire me.
Well, it's not in his normal places that he would normally look. It's in a different place. It's almost like he would need assistance, like through a friend of a friend is how I see that he would get the job. It isn't something that he's working, he has it in a lower vibe. So he's working too hard to get a job. If he can just kind of let go, that person will come that will give him the next step he needs to find it. So it won't be in his normal way he's been doing it. So I know this sounds weird, but go out, talk with people, go out, have a tea or a coffee with someone, and from that vibration, that level, ask for it to come to you. And I know that's esoteric, but that's what I get. So I'm going with that.
Tommy, you want to read this one on the screen? You're muted.
Did the alien put the numbers at my feet, please? I'm not exactly sure what that means.
I think the number S
at
my feet.
Would that be in interdimensional realm, or is that in the third dimension?
I think he had some type of encounter or dream.
Okay, in a dream space with the letter S for him.
Yes.
Okay, and what's his name again?
Dieseldama.
Diesel.
Hold on a second. I'll go back there. It's Dieseldama 013.
It's the first thing that comes up is like a red S. It's red. It's kind of in between. And almost like behind that, because sometimes it'll come in layers, behind that is like a serpent. And behind that is like the serpent mound, having to do with serpent. If the serpent is your one of your animals, your totem animal, but the serpent is a good animal for you, and you change and grow very quickly. It's because of this.
Right. Okay, one thing we want to say real quick here is we met Barbara Jean Lindsey, the Cosmic Oracle, in her segment, The Cosmic Cafe. We were very lucky to be invited to her presentation, and Tommy and I both spoke. We became true ufologists this year by being participants in the world's largest UFO conference, and we intend to do so next year as well. The Cosmic Cafe was a wonderful forum for a lot of people to talk, and we've had the pleasure of interviewing Pam Nance, from the Cosmic Cafe. We had her on last week, and she was fantastic. So we've met a lot of very nice people that are very informative and have a lot of knowledge about the ufology community and beyond, which is something that we're going to dig into here at the UFO Man channel. Right, Tommy?
That's right, Tim. We talked about the report, excuse me, the report that we received. And I know that it's been spoken about ad nauseum, but we can kind of have to keep going back to it. One of the things that we've done here, folks, because we believe that it was such a smoke and mirrors thing, just such a complete sham. I mean, that report looks like something, a book report I could have done in the 5th grade, okay? I mean, give me a break. After mom made me drink all that cough syrup. I'm telling you, it's just, there's no way. There's just, I mean, we expected more than that. In fact, we demand more than that. So, folks, what we've done here is out there on our website. That's www.ufomannetwork.com. We've got a petition, and we would be very honored if you go out there and sign it for us. I'm going to go ahead and read you the contents of it here, Tim. Would you like to throw it back up for me? Okay. The petition reads, and you have to understand, folks, we know that we have a lot of international viewers, and we love you guys. We're very, very happy that you're with us. It's just that this is something that we have to do as a We the People for the United States thing, because we're actually talking to our government and we're making demands. And supposedly, as voters, we have the right to do that. At least that's what they've always told us. But how the petition reads is, we the people of the United States believe that the recent report that was delivered on UAP was not in compliance with the spirit nor letter of the law as was mandated by the Coronavirus Relief and Government Funding Bill signed into law December 2020. I need to change that. I have 2021. This report was clearly mandated to provide detailed information on this phenomenon. The American people are well aware that a classified version of this report was delivered to certain members of the U.S. Congress that contained a great deal more information, including images, video, and other media regarding this phenomenon. We the people hereby request and demand an immediate release of all media related to this phenomenon collected from the personal mobile phones and any other common non-classified means of photographic data collection depicting this phenomenon. A mobile phone with an onboard camera is not classified technology. The technology is commonly available and in civilian use daily. The spirit and word of the law have been made clear. We demand that the law be followed to the letter. While we understand the need for secrecy regarding the ways and means by which our military collects data, personal mobile phones do not present a reasonable risk of exposing those ways and means to a potential adversary. Please disclose the information as mandated by U.S. law. So, folks, again, that's out there on our website. That's right there. Just go ahead if you would. We'd really appreciate that. We want more information. This is crap. What they gave us was crap. It was like a pacifier placating a baby. Are you kidding me? I mean, we've got 70 years of this phenomenon, at least 70 years that the government has been made aware of, and we get a 5th grade book report of 9 pages. I mean, it's ridiculous. I appreciate the fact that the government is at least acknowledging the fact that these things are real. I mean, that's a step in the right direction. Don't get me wrong. But we know from our own sources that they have video taken from the pilots in the cockpit with their own cameras, okay, of these things actually flying in formation with the aircraft. I mean, right off the wing. Okay, we know that these photos exist. We demand to see them. Okay, we want to see them. That is not classified technology. It was not derived from classified means. Give us the information. Tim?
Right. They're treating us like small children. It's like, come on. Most of us now have been conditioned for several decades through media and movies and whatnot to know that aliens exist, that UFOs are real. We pretty much can handle something like the knowledge that, yes, our government knows that they're real, not just UFOs, but alien life, okay? Mm-hmm. Confirmation. I'm not looking for disclosure anymore because I already know. Mm-hmm. But the point is, if we had government confirmation, then maybe we could move into some of the technologies that are available from crashes, like 0-point energy generators that we could put in our houses, and we could go off the grid and no longer pay an energy bill, or no longer use petroleum in our cars, not have the internal combustion engine anymore,
which creates massive economical problems by their own right. And there's an argument to be had that would collapse humanity if we were to actually come up with some sort of free energy source or whatever. I just don't think that's a good enough reason to continue to withhold the information.
Right. They say if we instigate 0-point energy devices in the major metropolitan areas, petroleum will become oil will become worthless. It'll be like mud in the ground. So
Right.
all those countries that rely on commerce through petroleum products and through oil will lose all their income, all their gross national product, and it could cause some massive uprisings. So that's what has been said behind the scenes as to why confirmation hasn't been forthcoming. I think that most people who study the subject of ufology, including Barbara, is well aware of the fact that the only way that we're going to come in contact with these beings is by raising our spiritual awareness, our consciousness level, our ability to reach out to the universe. And right now, with us focusing on material things, such as the price of oil, is definitely a detriment. What do you think, Tommy?
Well, when it comes to the information, let's call it disclosure, you don't have to convince me. You don't have to convince Barbara. You don't have to convince Tim. We're all experiencers. We already know. We've known for a very long time that these things exist. They're real, and they're out there in the environment doing whatever it is that they're doing. You don't have to convince us. But who they need to convince is my neighbor, my parents, my boss, my friends, my dog. That's who needs to be convinced at this point, because I already know what the story is. I've been there, done that. I've seen these things. And I think that it might be a great time in at least American society, maybe world society, to release this information that there's something else out there, that we're not top dog. Okay. Maybe it might be a good time because, let's be honest. We're all having a real tough time with the human civilization right now. Maybe it would take something like that to actually kick us in the ass and make us realize that there's a lot bigger picture out there than what the little teeny weeny little piece of turf that we're worried about is. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. In fact, they say the universe is connected by something that's like, let's picture this, like a spider web. All the planets, all the universes, all the galaxies. So anything that happens here on Earth affects the rest of the universe. So if we have something happen here that is tumultuous, like say a nuclear war that destroys our planet, it's going to be felt throughout the universe. So we need to look out for ourselves, take action, change our world so that we can look out to the stars. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. One thing I want to say is remember to sign the petition. We also want to say this. Tommy and I talked beforehand. We have decided to do a live mail call live stream. But to do that, we need you to send fan mail to UFO Man at 232 South Fremont, number 5, Lewiston, Minnesota. When we receive enough mail, we will feature the mail on a live mail call. So write in today and get your voices heard. Also, we're thinking about doing a live call-in show. Nancy Volker, one of the people in our chat, has suggested that we do a live call-in show. So Tommy and I have talked, and we're going to research that possibility. But before we do anything else, we're going to ask Barbara Jean to tell us a little bit about her book.
Oh, yeah, my book is, I did finally write one. It's a great catharsis. It's called Dying for the Light. And it tells about my story. I'm a single mom, 3 kids, had my near-death experience. And those experiences that I talked briefly about today, I go into detail. And it was a difficult thing to do because I wasn't a writer, but I'm so glad I was able to get it together enough to do it. And I wrote it for my grandchildren so that they would know my story, basically, and then brought it out.
Where is it available?
It's on Amazon. You can just go to Barbara Jean Lindsey. I have an author's page. I also have another book called Seized by Sekhmet, and it's experiences that I had in Egypt with the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet. She's a lion-headed being, a Lyran. And not only did I have that experience, but there are many, many people who've had experiences with her during this time, 2020, 2021. So I have that book available as well.
Yeah, please do go to Amazon and take a look at her book and pick it up. I hear it's a good read. I have a copy in the mail, I hear. So I will be reading it soon, and we will review it on the channel. Barbara, we want to thank you for coming this evening. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you both so much.
Tommy, any last words? You're muted.
Thank you. Barbara, thank you very much for coming. Wonderful story. We really appreciate you coming out. Folks, thank you for sticking with us as always. We really appreciate it. Again, that petition is important. We want to make a stand on this thing because this is what we got, which is garbage. I just put the direct link out there for the petition. So if you'd sign that for us, we'd really appreciate it. Other than that, thank you for coming, and we'll see you again next week.
Yes. Barbara, any last words?
Oh, no, thank you for having me, and sign the petition.
All righty. And I want to thank everybody in the chat room and everybody who participated online. And from Tommy, myself, and from Barbara,